Welcome back, listeners. Ready for another deep dive. This time, we're going underground. We're talking about the possibility of vast, habitable spaces inside the Earth.
Yeah, it's an idea that straddles archaeology, mythology, and even hard science. It really makes you think.
Exactly. We've got ancient Mayan legends, a really intriguing discovery in a Belizean cave system, and even some things from planetary science to talk about.
It's a fascinating mix of disciplines for sure. And when you bring them together, you really start to challenge some conventional wisdom about our planet.
Absolutely. And maybe one of the best places to start is with the discovery made in the Aktun Tunikil Muknal cave system. This was back in 1997 in Belize. Now, this wasn't just any cave. This was a whole network stretching for miles.
Oh, for sure. Led by archaeologist Holly Moyes, this expedition went 3 miles underground, navigating a complex network of chambers. It's almost like a physical journey mirroring the descent into the Mayan underworld.
It's a powerful image, for sure. And what they found deep inside those chambers is pretty incredible.
Thousands of offerings, everything from obsidian artifacts to, well, the remains of human sacrifices.
The sheer scale of it all suggests this wasn't just a casual place of worship. This place held some serious spiritual significance for the ancient Maya.
Oh, absolutely. The Maya believed they were entering a sacred but dangerous realm. And their sacred text, the Popol Vuh, describes their underworld, they call it Xibalba, as a subterranean world full of trials, ruled by some pretty sinister deities.
So with this connection to Xibalba, the findings become even more intriguing. Could it be that the Maya saw this cave system as a literal entrance to their underworld?
The association is definitely compelling. And when you look closer at how Xibalba is described, there are some striking similarities to other underworld myths from around the world, too.
Like what, for example?
Well, in the Popol Vuh, the rulers of Xibalba are depicted as these, well, reptilian humanoids. And this motif of reptilian beings connected to the underworld, it pops up in cultures all over the planet.
It really makes you wonder, are these recurring themes just coincidence? Or could they point to some shared ancestral memory or even, a glimpse into a hidden reality beneath our feet?
That's the million-dollar question. And it leads us to another really fascinating concept, the hollow earth theory.
Ah, yes. The idea that the Earth isn't solid all the way through, that there are these vast spaces inside that could even be habitable. It might sound like science fiction, but it's an idea that some pretty brilliant minds have considered.
Absolutely. Even Sir Isaac Newton himself entertained the possibility of a hollow Earth. Now, a completely hollow Earth might not line up with what we know about how planets form, but modern planetary scientists do say that large, potentially habitable spaces within the Earth's crust, well, they're not impossible.
I remember reading about that NASA experiment on the moon. They intentionally crash a rocket into the surface, and the vibrations from the impact resonated for hours, suggesting some kind of hollowness. Could that be a clue about our own planet?
It's certainly thought-provoking. Could there be huge caverns, maybe even continent-sized, right under our feet? And if so, what could they hold?
Which leads us to another interesting piece of this puzzle, deep underground military bases. DUMBs, as they're called. Are these top-secret facilities real or just conspiracy theory fodder?
There's so much speculation around DUMBs. Their purpose, their extent, it's all shrouded in secrecy. But some researchers suggest they could be located near naturally occurring underground openings.
So modern governments might be tapping into pre-existing networks, maybe even remnants of ancient civilizations.
It's definitely a theory worth exploring. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed a whole network of caverns and openings deep underground, some going down a mile or more. When you overlay maps of these features with rumored locations of DUMBs, some interesting correlations pop up.
So are we suggesting that modern tunnel systems might have been built to align with ancient locations, implying some link between modern knowledge and ancient secrets?
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If whoever built these facilities knew about these pre-existing networks, what else might they know about what's down there?
And if there are these habitable spaces, could it be that ancient civilizations facing some cataclysmic event took shelter underground? Could these spaces have been like a Noah's Ark for them, allowing them to survive while the surface world went through some drastic change?
It's a fascinating idea, and it ties in with all the myths about catastrophic events that reshaped the world too. Like the Maya, for instance, they believed that 4 worlds were destroyed before our current one. So maybe, faced with these events, some civilizations did seek refuge underground, adapting and evolving in ways we can only imagine.
That's an amazing thought. And while we're talking about adaptation and evolution, we can't ignore the whole giants thing in ancient texts and mythology. Is it possible there's a connection between these accounts of giants and a potential breakaway civilization that sheltered underground? Could living underground have influenced how they developed?
Now, that's an intriguing proposition. Imagine a world with different evolutionary pressures, different gravity, different atmosphere, leading to, well, larger beings. Maybe the stories of giants aren't just myths. Maybe they're echoes of a hidden history.
It's like something out of Jules Verne. But so far, we've been thinking about the underworld as a place of refuge, a hidden world. What about the possibility that it's the source of creation itself?
That's where Anton Park's research comes in. He connects the underworld to creation myths from all sorts of cultures. He suggests that the abyss, which is often linked to the underworld, could actually be the birthplace of life itself.
So instead of being a place of darkness and death, the underworld could be seen as this primordial womb, the place where life first emerged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this links back to the Sumerian god Enki, too. He's often called the master of the abyss. Some people think he played a key role in creating humankind, maybe even through genetic engineering in some subterranean or even underwater realm.
Genetic engineering. That's a fascinating connection. And it brings to mind how the Sumerian gods are often depicted as giants, sometimes 10 to 14 feet tall. Could their size be a clue about where they came from? Maybe from within the earth, where different evolutionary pressures led to their stature.
It's certainly a question worth considering. If the environment inside the earth was so different from the surface, who knows what evolutionary paths life might have taken?
This is all incredibly thought-provoking. We've gone from ancient Mayan caves to Sumerian creation myths, from ground-penetrating radar to the very origins of life. But before we get too carried away, let's bring it down to a more personal level. Have you ever heard of Sonia Grace and what she experienced in relation to the ziggurat of Ur?
I have. Her story is quite fascinating. Sonia Grace is an alternative researcher. She believes she had this profound experience, a form of spirit travel, where she was transported to the ancient ziggurat of Ur in Mesopotamia.
That's right. And what she encountered there adds another layer to our whole exploration of the underworld. It gets into the mystical and visionary, but I think it's worth sharing. Do you know the details of what happened?
I do. She described meeting these beings unlike anything we've talked about so far. She called them Savroks. She said they were ginormous and looked like ants, and they claimed to be the architects of the ziggurat.
Ant-like beings. Now that's a new addition to our cast of underworld characters.
Yeah.
What else does she find out from these Savroks?
Well, they claimed that they guided survivors from Atlantis, the lost city, to safety in this huge underground cavern. They described it as a hidden Eden, a sanctuary of beauty and abundance, with a lake and tons of crystals.
An underground Eden, hidden from whatever cataclysm happened on the surface. It's a pretty captivating image. And Sonia Grace also mentioned something else that connects back to what we were discussing earlier, tree roots reaching down beneath the surface into this subterranean world.
Right. According to the Savroks, these roots symbolize the eventual return of life to the surface and represented a deep connection to the tree of life. It's a powerful symbol that you see in many spiritual traditions.
So we've got ancient Mayan caves, Sumerian creation myths, ground-penetrating radar data, and now a visionary journey to an underground Eden with giant ant people. It's almost too much to process.
It is a lot to take in, but I think it really shows how much we still don't know about our planet and its history. And maybe, just maybe, many of the stories we've dismissed as fantasy actually hold deeper truths than we realize.
Absolutely. This deep dive has definitely left me with more questions than answers, but that's the beauty of exploration, right? There's always more to learn.
Exactly. Sometimes the best discoveries happen when we don't just search for answers, but embrace the mystery and let the questions lead us to new perspectives.
It strikes me that we keep seeing this connection between advanced knowledge, technology, and these underground realms, like the Savroks saying they built the ziggurat or Enki, and this idea of genetic engineering. It makes you wonder, what could a civilization accomplish if they were isolated underground for centuries, even millennia?
It's a really interesting question. Think about the ingenuity they'd need to just survive down there. Sustainable energy, food production, breathable air, protection from whatever hazards exist. They could have technologies and solutions we haven't even dreamed of.
It's like those classic sci-fi stories, where a breakaway civilization becomes super advanced compared to the surface world, maybe develops unique evolutionary paths even. Could those stories have a grain of truth to them?
It's certainly a tantalizing thought.
Mm.
Imagine the adaptations they might have. harnessing geothermal energy in ways we can't even fathom, bioluminescent lighting, new senses to navigate the darkness.
And what about crystals? Sonia Grease talked about tons of crystals in that underground Eden. We know crystals have unique properties. Could an advanced civilization be using them in ways we haven't even thought of?
It's definitely worth considering. Lots of ancient cultures place special importance on crystals. They're often associated with healing and spiritual practices. We even see it in myths about Atlantis, which is often depicted as being powered by a mysterious crystal.
Right, and then there's the whole concept of ley lines, those invisible energy pathways that supposedly crisscross the Earth, connecting sacred sites and natural formations. Could these be clues to a deeper understanding of Earth's energies? And could crystals play a role in how those energies are used?
It's a compelling idea, and it raises a question. If these advanced underground civilizations did, or even still do, exist, why haven't we found more concrete evidence?
Well, for starters, exploring the Earth's interior is a massive undertaking. We've barely scratched the surface, literally. And if they were actively trying to stay hidden, they might have technology that makes detection almost impossible.
Exactly. Imagine thousands of years to refine stealth technology. Their structures, their energy signatures, everything could be completely undetectable to our instruments.
It's a bit unsettling to think we could be clueless about their presence, even if they're right below us. Then, another question. If they're so advanced, why stay hidden? Why not share their knowledge?
There are a lot of possible reasons. Maybe they see us as too primitive or destructive. Maybe they're protecting themselves from something on the surface. Or maybe they just prefer their way of life, living in harmony with the Earth, away from the complexities and conflicts up here.
Yeah, I can see that. The way things are in the world today, all the problems we have, might not seem very appealing to a civilization that's figured out how to live in peace and sustainability. It's almost like those stories of advanced aliens observing us from afar, except they're right under our feet.
It's an interesting parallel, isn't it? It speaks to our fascination with this idea of a hidden, wiser civilization that has the answers we're looking for. Whether it's Shangri-La, El Dorado, or a super advanced underground society, there's something about that possibility of a better way of life, hidden from view, that really captures our imagination.
It's a hopeful thought. This idea that even with all our problems, there might be a group out there that's got it figured out, a model for a better way of being.
Maybe it's more than just hope. Maybe it's a reminder that there are always possibilities we haven't considered, mysteries yet to be uncovered. It's a call to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep our minds open to the unknown.
That's beautifully said. And on that note, let's shift gears a bit and explore another dimension of this, the concept of multidimensional reality. So far, we've been talking about physical places underground. But what if the underworld is more than just a location? What if it's a state of consciousness, another dimension existing alongside our own?
Now that's a fascinating concept, and it aligns with what many mystics and spiritual traditions have been saying for centuries. This idea of accessing other realms through altered states of consciousness. It's a recurring theme in shamanism, esoteric traditions, even some interpretations of ancient texts.
And if those other realms are accessible through consciousness, could some of these beings we've talked about, reptilian, humanoids, giants, the Savroks, be more than just physical? Could they be interdimensional beings, able to shift between realities or appear in different forms?
It's a thought-provoking question, for sure. We're still learning so much about consciousness and the nature of reality. Quantum physics is revealing the interconnectedness of everything, and the idea of multiple dimensions is gaining traction even in scientific circles. What if those ancient myths and legends are glimpses into these other dimensions, filtered through the lens of the culture and time they came from?
That would explain why they often seem so fantastical or symbolic. Maybe they're attempts to describe things beyond our normal understanding, using the language and imagery that made sense to them back then.
Exactly. And if we approach them with an open mind, we might learn something about the nature of reality itself. Take Xibalba as an example. This challenging underworld, it's actually a metaphor for the inner work we all have to do, confronting our shadows and overcoming our limitations.
I like that interpretation. It shifts the focus from literal underground caverns to our inner landscapes, the psychological and spiritual terrain we all navigate.
Right. And it reminds us that exploring isn't just about physical journeys. It's also about exploring the depths of our own consciousness.
Well said. We've covered so much ground today, from actual evidence of underground caverns to the possibility of advanced civilizations down there, from multidimensional reality to the exploration of inner realms. It's been quite a journey.
It has. And I think it highlights the importance of approaching these topics with curiosity and an open mind. We still have so much to learn, and the more we explore, the more we realize just how much there is to discover.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this whole topic so fascinating. It reminds us that the world is full of mysteries and that discovery is an ongoing process.
It is. And sometimes the most profound discoveries aren't found in the vastness of space or the depths of the ocean, but in the unexplored territories within ourselves and the hidden realms of consciousness.
So, what stands out to you from our discussion today? What resonates with your own experiences and beliefs, and what mysteries are you inspired to explore further? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Hmm.
It's pretty mind-blowing to think that the answers to some of life's biggest questions of, where we come from, what our purpose is, even the nature of reality itself. Maybe those answers aren't out in the stars, but right here, under our feet and inside our own minds.
It is a powerful shift in perspective, for sure.
Mm,
We tend to think of exploration as this outward journey, but maybe the most profound journeys take us deeper into ourselves, into those hidden mysteries within.
I'm with you on that. And speaking of mysteries, there's another piece to this puzzle, the Earth's energy grid. It ties back to those ley lines we talked about, those invisible energy pathways that supposedly flow through the Earth.
Oh yeah, some researchers believe that they form this massive energy network, like a circulatory system for the planet. They say these lines connect sacred sites, natural formations, maybe even these underground realms we've been discussing.
So it's like the Earth has its own acupuncture meridians, but on a planetary scale. Could these lines be how energy and information flow between the surface and the underworld?
It's a possibility, isn't it? If there are civilizations down there, they'd need energy. Maybe they've tapped into this energy grid, drawing power from the Earth itself.
And could that be why ancient cultures built their temples, pyramids, and stone circles on these ley lines? Maybe they knew somehow that these were powerful spots, places where they could connect with the Earth energy, maybe even communicate with other realms.
It's an idea worth exploring. It definitely fits with the idea that ancient cultures understood the Earth's energies and forces much better than we do today. They saw themselves as part of this web of life, not separate from it.
It's a perspective we seem to have lost. We're so focused on the material world that we've forgotten about those unseen forces that shape our reality.
And maybe that's why we've dismissed so many ancient stories and traditions as just myths and superstition. We just don't have the framework to understand the subtle energies and maybe even the multidimensional realities they could be describing.
So how do we bridge that gap? How do we bring back that ancient wisdom and integrate it with our modern understanding?
Well, I think it starts with being curious and open-minded. We have to be willing to question our assumptions, look beyond what we think we know, and really listen to the wisdom of ancient cultures.
And maybe, just maybe, by reconnecting with the Earth's energies and exploring those hidden realms inside ourselves, we can find a deeper understanding of our place in the universe. We might even unlock possibilities we never imagined.
It's a journey worth taking, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And we invite all of you listening to join us on this journey. Keep asking those questions, keep searching for answers, and most importantly, keep your minds open to the infinite possibilities that might be hidden right beneath the surface, or even within yourselves.
Because sometimes the truth really is stranger than fiction, and you never know where you might find it.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive, folks. Until next time, keep exploring.